In a forgotten corner of Chicago, there stood an old basketball court, surrounded by broken fences and graffiti-covered walls. It was a place most people ignored, yet for 12-year-old Jamal, it was a sanctuary. Every day after school, Jamal would escape to this court with his deflated basketball, dreaming of greatness while dribbling on the cracked pavement. Michael Jordan had been driving through Chicago that afternoon, revisiting neighborhoods he hadn't seen in years. The city had changed, but some streets still carried the same spirit he remembered from his youth. As he turned down a quiet block, a movement caught his eye, a boy dribbling a basketball on a rundown court. Michael slowed his car, curiosity tugging at him. The court was in terrible shape. The pavement was cracked, the hoop rusted and bent, and there was no net in sight. Yet the boy, dressed in a faded t-shirt and worn sneakers, seemed oblivious to his surroundings. His focus was unshaken as he practiced his dribbling and shooting, parking his car nearby. Michael stepped out, the sound of his sneakers crunching against the pavement breaking the silence. Jamal, startled by the sudden presence, froze mid-dribble. He turned to see the tall figure approaching him and immediately recognized the man who had inspired his dreams. "You're Michael Jordan," Jamal stammered, his voice barely audible. The ball slipped from his hands as he stood frozen in shock. Michael smiled, his presence calm, but commanding. "That's me," he said. "What's your name, kid?" "Jamal," the boy replied nervously. Michael picked up the worn basketball and examined it. "This your court?" he asked, gesturing around. Jamal shrugged. "Kind of. Nobody else comes here. It's just me." Michael handed the ball back to Jamal and sat on the edge of the court. "All right, Jamal, show me what you've got," he said, leaning forward with a grin. One fateful afternoon, under the dim light of the setting sun, Jamal found himself face to face with someone he had only ever seen on TV. Michael Jordan, the legend himself, had stumbled upon the court by chance. What began as a simple encounter became a life-changing event that would inspire Jamal and many others for years to come. If you enjoy stories like this, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more inspiring tales. Now let's dive into Jamal's unforgettable journey. As Jamal dribbled and shot, Michael observed his movements carefully. Despite the deflated ball and uneven ground, Jamal's determination was evident. "You've got some skills," Michael said after a while. "But why are you practicing here alone?" Jamal hesitated before answering. "This is the only place I've got," he said, glancing around at the dilapidated court. "We don't have much money. My mom works all the time, and this ball, it's old, but it's mine." Michael felt a pang of recognition. He remembered his own childhood playing on courts that weren't much better than this one. "What's your goal?" he asked. Jamal's eyes lit up. "I want to make it to the NBA," he said with quiet determination. "I want to be like you?" Michael leaned back, his expression thoughtful. "It's not easy," he said. "Getting to the NBA takes more than talent. It takes hard work, discipline, and a little bit of luck." Jamal nodded, soaking in every word. "But," Michael continued, "if you're willing to put in the effort, nothing's impossible." Jamal's grip on the ball tightened. "I'll do whatever it takes," he said, his voice steady. Michael smiled, standing up. "Good. Let's start with the basics," he said, motioning for Jamal to follow his lead. For the next hour, Michael coached Jamal on the fundamentals. He corrected his shooting form, showed him how to improve his footwork, and taught him the importance of balance. Jamal listened intently, his focus unwavering as he mimicked Michael's movements. "Your form's not bad," Michael said after a few practice shots. "But you're rushing. Slow it down. Focus on every step, every movement." Jamal adjusted, his shots gradually improving under Michael's guidance. As the session continued, Michael began to see something special in the boy. It wasn't just talent. It was his hunger to learn, his willingness to push himself despite his circumstances. "This kid's got heart," Michael thought to himself. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the court, Michael finally called it a day. "All right, Jamal," he said, clapping him on the shoulder. "You've got potential, but potential means nothing without hard work. Remember that." Jamal nodded, his face glowing with excitement and gratitude. "Thank you, Mr. Jordan," he said. "I won't let you down." Michael grinned. "I'm holding you to that," he said. Before leaving, Michael handed Jamal a card with his contact information. "Call me if you ever need advice," he said. "And keep practicing." The next morning, Jamal woke up to the sound of a knock on the door. Rubbing his eyes, he stumbled to answer it. Outside stood a delivery man holding a large package. "Are you Jamal?" the man asked. Jamal nodded, his curiosity piqued. The delivery man handed him the box, and Jamal carried it inside with a mix of excitement and confusion. His grandmother, who was busy in the kitchen, looked up and asked, "What's that, Jamal?" "I don't know," he replied, carefully opening the package. Inside, he found a brand new basketball, a pair of pristine sneakers, and a sports bag emblazoned with the iconic Jumpman logo. Tucked inside the bag was a note: "Dream big, but work even harder. MJ?" Jamal's eyes widened in disbelief. "Michael Jordan sent this to me," he whispered, his voice trembling with excitement. His grandmother walked over, her hands still wet from washing dishes. She read the note and smiled, her eyes glistening. "That man saw something special in you," she said softly. The sneakers were a perfect fit, and the new basketball felt firm and ready for the court. Jamal couldn't wait to test them out. That evening, he returned to the same court where he'd met Michael and practiced until his arms ached and the stars dotted the sky. With his new equipment and renewed determination, Jamal's skills began to improve rapidly. His confidence grew with each practice session, and soon he started attracting attention at his middle school. His coach, impressed by his dedication, invited him to join the school's basketball team. However, the journey wasn't without challenges. During his first game, Jamal struggled to adapt to playing with a team. He missed crucial shots and made mistakes that cost his team points. Frustrated, he stayed late after the game, practicing alone on the empty court. Michael, who had been keeping tabs on Jamal's progress, called him that evening. "How'd the game go?" he asked. Jamal hesitated before admitting, "Not great. I messed up and I feel like I let my team down." Michael's voice was calm, but firm. "Listen, Jamal, failure is part of the process. What matters is how you respond. Are you going to let it stop you, or are you going to learn from it?" Jamal took a deep breath. "I'll learn," he said. "I'll do better." The next day, he apologized to his teammates and worked harder during practice. His resilience began to inspire those around him, and his coach took notice. By the time Jamal reached high school, his reputation as a rising basketball star was well established. Scouts from various colleges began attending his games, intrigued by his talent and work ethic. But Jamal remained humble, keeping Michael's advice at the forefront of his mind. One day, during a high-stakes game, Jamal faced a tough opponent who seemed to block every move he made. The pressure mounted, and Jamal felt the weight of the crowd's expectations. During a timeout, he closed his eyes and remembered Michael's words: "Slow down. Focus. Don't let the moment control you." When play resumed, Jamal changed his approach. He played smarter, using teamwork and strategy instead of relying solely on his skills. The tide of the game turned, and his team secured a hard-fought victory. Jamal's coach called it one of the most impressive performances he'd ever seen. After the game, Jamal checked his phone and found a text from Michael: "I saw the game. You kept your cool. Proud of you." Jamal grinned, his confidence soaring. That Jamal's dedication paid off when he received a full scholarship to a prestigious college. During his time there, he continued to excel, becoming one of the top players in the country. His story of meeting Michael Jordan became a legend among his teammates and fans. Draft night came faster than Jamal expected. As his name was called in the first round, he felt a rush of emotions: pride, gratitude, and disbelief. After the ceremony, he stepped outside and called Michael. "I made it," Jamal said, his voice trembling with emotion. Michael laughed on the other end of the line. "I knew you would," he replied. "Now the real work begins." Jamal took those words to heart as he entered the NBA. His debut game was a spectacle, with commentators highlighting his journey from a rundown court to the grand stage of professional basketball. Today, Jamal is not only a successful NBA player, but also a role model and mentor for young athletes. He often returns to his old neighborhood, visiting the same court where his journey began. Jamal also founded a youth basketball program, providing equipment, coaching, and mentorship to underprivileged kids. He named the program MJ Dreams, in honor of the man who changed his life. At the program's launch, Jamal gave a heartfelt speech. Michael Jordan didn't just teach me basketball, he said. He taught me the value of hard work, discipline, and giving back. My dream came true because of him, and now I want to help others achieve theirs. If this story inspired you, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more moving tales.